All right. So $299 for a brand new one. But I actually got this one for around $250. Open box. You guys can see there the snow color. Let's take a look here. Or actually, let's examine the box first. So I do like that it comes with the original box. Obviously, they don't put a charging brick in the box anymore. But we do get the USB-C to USB-C cable. We get the OTG. And we get a SIM ejection tool. And what are we getting here? A little pamphlet or whatnot. All right. So not too bad, $250. So let's take a look, see what kind of condition this device is in. Let's see here, the back. I really wanted this snow color because it doesn't show as many scratches and dings as the black one would. Let's look at the camera bump there. We got some smudges, but nothing too crazy. Top of the device, antenna lines, got our microphone up there. See on the right side, we've got our volume rocker and our power button. The bottom, we've got some speaker grills and the USB-C port. And the left side, we've got, if I can get it to focus there, should be the SIM card slot. And yeah, so let's see if this thing has any juice. All right, so it is gonna power up. So what I'm gonna do is get my information put into the phone, play around with it a little bit, and give you guys some first impressions. All right, guys, so I loaded my information in the phone. I've been playing around with it for about 24 hours. I definitely have some thoughts about this Pixel 6a here in 2023. Should you pick one up? Well, we have some pros and some cons, so I guess we'll start kind of with good and bad news. I would say if you don't happen to catch this phone on sale and you're looking at a retail price of around $450, I would say to definitely not purchase this phone in 2023 for $450. Now, if you do happen to catch it on sale, which is normally around $299 or less, well, let's talk about it. Is this something I can recommend? Well, we'll start with some of the cons right now. If you actually consider these cons, if they're deal breakers or not, that's really going to be up to you. Let me just try to, let's take the brightness down just a little bit. But a few of the cons, if we want to call them that, this is only a 60 hertz panel. So you don't get the buttery smoothness of 120 hertz. That could be a deal breaker for some. I would say that if you're used to a 120 hertz panel, it'll take a little bit to kind of get used to this device. Is not a jarring jump from the 120 to the 60 or the 60 back up if the performance of the device is really good, and I would say the performance on this device with that Tensor chip is pretty good. So it really depends on you, what device you're coming from, but the 60 hertz, you need to be aware of that. Another thing that we can look at as a con would be there's no wireless charging for this device. So this is a plastic device. I guess they had to cut a few corners to make it more affordable. So there is no wireless charge. Well, if that's a big deal for you, that may be a deal breaker. Something that I've noticed within about 24 hours is it does have 6 gigs of RAM, but the RAM management isn't the best. So I did test my games that I normally test, which is DH5 and NBA 2K20. They both run pretty well on this device. However, when I go away from them and try to come back to them, the device definitely needs to refresh those games. So the RAM management could be better, but you only get the 6 gigs of RAM. Maybe that is or isn't a deal breaker for you again. The fingerprint reader, it's decent, but not as fast as a lot of other phones in the industry right now, especially around that $400 price point. But you know, if you're only paying $250 for this device, then you probably won't mind it being a split second slower with the fingerprint reader. I wish it had the option to do like a face unlock or something to that effect, but no, just the fingerprint reader. It is passable though, especially if you get this thing at a decent cost. But yeah, that's about all I have for the negative pieces of this phone, because there's definitely a lot of positives. And like I already mentioned, the price, like I said, I only paid about $250, I want to say, or $260 with tax with this phone. So I think it is definitely worth it at that price. It has a nice screen. So even though it's only a 60 hertz panel, there are nice vibrant colors, nice viewing angles, and I love the fact that this is a flat panel, so you don't get as many of those accidental touches that you would get from a curved display like you would on the Pro, like the Pixel 7 Pro and those Pro devices. So I do prefer the flat panel, and this one is a very good 6.1 inch one-handed device panel, I would say. So definitely a pro there, or at least I consider it a pro, or not a pro device, but pro versus con. Let me be clear. Good speakers, some really good speakers on this device. It's hard to kind of portray that over video through YouTube, so I never really try to do speaker like sound tests and whatnot. I don't think that's a fair example for you guys. So I would say go to the store, play around with these. They definitely have them on display. Like I said, I picked this one up from Best Buy, so you can test out the speakers. Really good speakers. We already kind of hit on the performance. So the Tensor chip. So this is the original Google Tensor chip. The 7 and the 7 Pro have the Tensor 2, which is like a higher clocked Tensor 1. So you still get great performance with that Tensor chip. So very, very good performance there. Really good cameras. That goes without saying. Pixel devices are going to give you really good cameras. So just for the cameras alone, this thing is worth the $250. And this device has always on display. So I haven't always seen that on Pixel devices. It's been a while since I used one, but I know a lot of the older models did not have the always on display, but it is definitely present on this device. So with all that being said, will I recommend this in 2023? Yes, if it's less than $300. So keep that in mind. That is the sweet spot. A lot of the Pixel devices, like I said earlier, are on sale, so if you guys can snag some, I've seen it even as high as $300 off for a brand new Pixel 7 Pro, which would be, you know, more of a primary device, your daily driver. This one could possibly be your daily driver depending on your needs. It really depends on what you're currently using. So I definitely would use this as a secondary device, only because I use my iPhones as my primary device. But I can definitely see how somebody can make a great case for this being a primary device for you. But those are my early thoughts on the device. Hit me up in the comments if you guys have any questions. But yeah, Pixel 6a here in 2023. To the next one. Peace.